Radio is an intimate storytelling medium, and when it bonds with one of the finest storytellers of our times, the result is sheer magic. During these times of social distancing, All India Radio hopes to bring you some comfort, some connection, with an exclusive story reading series, Bonding over the Radio. Coming up is the pick of the day, voiced by the author Ruskin Bond himself.
Boy Scouts forever. I was a Boy Scout once, although I couldn't tell a slip knot from a granny knot, nor a reef knot from a thief knot. I did know that a thief knot was to be used to tie up a thief, should you happen to catch one. I've never caught a thief, and wouldn't know what to do with one, since I can't tie the right knot. I'd just let him go with a warning, I suppose, and tell him to become a Boy Scout. Be prepared. That's the Boy Scout motto, in case you've forgotten. Be prepared. And it is a good one, too. But I never seem to be well prepared for anything, be it an exam, or a journey, or the roof blowing off my room. I get halfway through a speech and then forget what I have to say next. Or I make a new suit to attend a friend's wedding, and then turn up in my pajamas. So, how did I, the most impractical of boys, survive as a Boy Scout? Well, it seems a rumor had gone around the junior school, I was still a junior then, that I was a good cook. Now, I had never cooked anything in my life, but of course I had spent a lot of time in the tuck shop, making suggestions and advising Chimpu, who ran the tuck shop, and encouraging him to make more and better samosas, jalebis, tikkis and pakoras. For my unwanted advice, he would favor me with an occasional free samosa. So naturally, I looked upon him as a friend and benefactor. With this qualification, I was given a cookery badge and put in charge of our troops' supply of rations. There were about 20 of us in our troop. During the summer break, our scoutmaster, Mr. Oliver, took us on a camping expedition to Tara Devi, a temple-crowned mountain a few miles outside Shimla. That first night we were put to work peeling potatoes, skinning onions, shelling peas, and pounding masalas. These various ingredients being ready, I was asked, as the troop cookery expert, what should be done with them. Put everything in that big dekchi, I ordered. Pour half a tin of ghee over the lot. Add some stinging nettle leaves. And cook for half an hour. When this was done, everyone had a taste. But the general opinion was that the dish lacked something. More salt, I suggested. More salt was added. It still lacked something. Add a cup of sugar, I ordered. Sugar was added to the concoction, but it still lacked something. We forgot to add tomatoes, said one of the scouts. Never mind, I said. We have tomato sauce. Add a bottle of tomato sauce. How about some vinegar, suggested another. Just the thing, I said. Add a cup of vinegar. No, it's too sour, said one of the tasters. Well, what jam did we bring, I asked. Raspberry jam. Just the thing. Empty the bottle. The dish was a great success. Everyone enjoyed it, including Mr. Oliver, who had no idea what had gone into it. What's this called? He asked. It's an all-Indian sweet and sour jam potato curry, I ventured. For short, just call it Bond Bhujia, said one of the scouts. And I had earned my cookery badge. Poor Mr. Oliver. He wasn't really cut out to be a scoutmaster any more than I was meant to be a scout. The following day, he told us he would give us a lesson in tracking. Taking a half-hour start, he walked into the forest, leaving behind him a trail of broken twigs, chicken feathers, pine cones, and chestnuts. We were to follow the trail until we found him. Unfortunately, we were not very good trackers. We did follow Mr. Oliver's trail some way into the forest, but then we were distracted by a pool of clear water. It looked very inviting. Abandoning our uniforms, we jumped into the pool and had a great time romping about or just lying on its grassy banks and enjoying the sunshine. Many hours later, feeling hungry, we returned to our campsite and set about preparing the evening meal. It was Bond bhujia again, but with a few variations. It was growing dark and we were beginning to worry about Mr. Oliver's whereabouts when he limped into the camp, assisted by a couple of local villagers. Having waited for us at the far end of the forest for a couple of hours, he had decided to return by following his own trail. But in the gathering gloom, he was soon lost. Village folk returning home from the temple took charge and escorted him back to the camp. He was very angry and made us return all our good conduct and other badges, which he stuffed into his haversack, and I had to give up my cookery badge. An hour later, when we were all preparing to get into our sleeping bags for the night, Mr. Oliver called out, "Where's dinner?" "We've had ours, sir," said one of the boys. "Everything's finished, sir." "Where's Bond? He's supposed to be the cook." "Bond, get up and make me an omelette." "I can't, sir." "Why not?" "You have my badge, sir. Not allowed to cook without it. Scout rule, sir." "I've never heard of such a rule, but you can take your badges, all of you. We return to school tomorrow." Mr. Oliver returned to his tent in a huff, but I relented and made him a grand omelette, garnishing it with dandelion leaves and a big green chili. "Never had such an omelette before," confessed Mr. Oliver. "Would you like another, sir?" Tomorrow, Bond, tomorrow. We'll breakfast early tomorrow." But we had to break up our camp before we could do that, because in the early hours of the next morning, a bear strayed into our camp, entered the tent where our stores were kept, and created havoc with all our provisions, even rolling out the biggest dekchi down the hillside. In the confusion and uproar that followed, the bear entered Mr. Oliver's tent. Our scoutmaster was already outside, fortunately, and the bear came out entangled in Mr. Oliver's dressing gown. It then made off towards the forest, a comical sight in its borrowed clothes. And though we were a couple, or though we were a troop, rather, of brave little scouts, we thought it better to let the bear keep Mr. Oliver's gown.
Can we share some messages, sir?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yes.
This is from Anujaya Krishna, and she's remembering how she was so little that she would choose the books only by their covers.
Oh.
I was in the iconic Ram Advani bookshop in Lucknow, and I picked up Mr. Bond's Blue Umbrella.
I see.
From that day to this, a lot of time has passed, but if there is one author whose works I love to read, irrespective of time and mood and atmosphere, it is his.
Thank you so much. I'm glad you love my stories. And you mentioned Ram Advani's bookshop in Lucknow. Dear old Ram Advani, he passed away last year. But you know, when I was a small boy at school in Simla, he was our bursar. He was the office manager. So he knew me from my childhood. So he was always glad to keep my books in his shop too, naturally.
That's very interesting.
Yes.
Those iconic bookshops are folding up, I'm sad to say.
Yes, that's true. His shop is closed down now, I believe. Yes.
Anujaya goes on to say, last year I read his autobiography, Lone Fox Dancing, and now to hear him narrate these tales is just marvelous, especially amidst these trying times. So thank you to him and to Akashvani.
Thank you so much.
Tulika Mukherjee from Kolkata, who
Yes.
says she never misses meeting you whenever you come to Kolkata.
Every winter for the last 4 years, I've been going to a Tata Steel literary meet. And they have it out at the Victoria Memorial. Out in the open, actually. They have some big tents there. And it's very pleasant, and I meet a lot of young readers too, and talk to them or even read to them. So let's see, hopefully again I can go again this winter.
So Tulika says that one day while reading your encounters with the chameleon named Henry
Yes.
and your grandfather's pets like Toto, I laughed so loudly that my spectacles fell off. So that should prove how much she enjoys reading your stories.
Oh, that's nice. Well, my spectacles fall off quite often too. In fact, they just fell off a few minutes back when I was trying to hold the telephone in my right hand and the book in my left.
That should tell our listeners how challenging this has been for you.
Yes.
Holding the telephone in one hand, the receiver,
And the book in the
and
other.
the book in the other, turning the pages and
when
then
I
reading.
had to trying to turn the page, that's when I got my fingers entangled in my spectacles, and they fell off. I think I've got to a stage where I'll have to tie my spectacles onto my ears.
Tulika has a
Yes.
question for you. Do you believe in ghosts and have you seen ghosts?
To tell you the truth, I don't believe in ghosts, but sometimes I see them. In a way, I imagine them, or when I write a ghost story, I start seeing the ghost. So maybe I create my own ghosts.
So there is Shreyashi Paul. She's 23 years old, writing from Shantiniketan.
Yes,
She says the land where Rabindranath Tagore created magic with words.
yes.
It was never in my wildest imagination to hear stories from you. Now my mornings start with a cup of tea and your voice. And it is very strange that in spite of not knowing you personally, you feel just like a friend to me. I wish you good health, sir, in these adverse times. And she also hopes to meet you.
Thank you so much. And it's nice to know I have a friend there in Shantiniketan. And when I went to England as a boy, and I used to feel homesick for India, I used to get hold of collected works of Rabindranath Tagore from the local library. And I read all his plays, The Post Office, and read Oleander's, and his poems, The Gardener, and others. So, in the way, he kept me going. Not at breakfast, but in the evenings.
That was storyteller par excellence, Ruskin Bond, reading his hand-picked story of the day in our exclusive series, Bonding Over the Radio. Ruskin Bond needs no introduction. Much loved by generations for his enduring and inspiring writing, he is an iconic and prolific literateur, honoured with the Padma Bhushan and Sahitya Akademi Awards. Some of his works that have been adapted for film and television series include Junoon, Susanna's Seven Husbands, Saat Khoon Maaf, The Blue Umbrella, and Ek Tha Rusty. A presentation of the Central English Features Unit. This came to you from the External Services Division of All India Radio.